Welcome to Oculus of the Wise. Before you do anything else, before you scroll, before you check your notifications, before you convince yourself this is just another video, I need you to pause and breathe for a moment. Because if you are hearing my voice right now, this is not random. This is not algorithm. This is not coincidence. There has been a shift in the spiritual atmosphere around your life, and you have felt it. You may not have had language for it. You may have tried to dismiss it as stress, aging, burnout, or just another restless night. But deep down, somewhere beneath the responsibilities, beneath the bills, beneath the weight of being the strong one for everyone else, you knew something was changing, and the truth is this. You were not led here by accident. You were summoned. For the past several weeks, maybe even months, you have felt a tension building, a quiet pressure, doors closing that you thought would stay open, relationships shifting without explanation, opportunities stalling at the last minute. And in the silence that followed, you asked the question you have been too proud to say out loud. Did I miss my moment? Did God move on without me? Listen carefully. He did not move on. He moved you. There is a difference. You are not being left behind. You are being repositioned. And what makes this moment critical is that you are standing at a threshold right now, not metaphorically, not someday, right now. Something that has been hidden is about to surface. Something that has been delayed is about to accelerate. And something about you that has been underestimated for years is about to be revealed in a way that will make even the people who doubted you stop and reconsider what they thought they knew. But here is the part that most people will never hear. Revelation always comes with responsibility. Elevation always comes with testing. And if you click away from this moment, if you treat this like background noise while you multitask, you may miss the preparation you need for what is about to unfold in your real physical life. You have carried more than most people know. You have survived seasons that would have broken others. You have kept your faith when it would have been easier to grow bitter. You have shown up for your family, your community, your responsibilities, even when you were running on empty, and heaven saw every single one of those choices, every silent sacrifice, every private prayer, every night you lay awake, wondering if all of this effort would ever amount to something greater than survival. This message is not for everyone. It is for the one who stayed, the one who endured, the one who did not quit even when quitting would have made sense. There is a reason the attacks intensified when you started maturing. There is a reason misunderstandings increased when you began setting boundaries. There is a reason isolation deepened when you finally decided you would no longer shrink yourself to keep others comfortable. It was not punishment. It was confirmation. You have been marked for a level of influence and stability that requires refinement most people would never agree to endure. And that refinement has not been gentle. You have felt the pruning. You have felt the stretching. You have felt the quiet removal of people and patterns that once defined your everyday life. You called it loss. Heaven called it preparation. And now we are at the moment where preparation turns into revelation. But before I go further, I need you fully present, not half listening, not distracted, fully here. Because what I am about to unfold is going to reframe the last several years of your life in a way that will either strengthen your resolve or expose where you still doubt who you are becoming. Take a breath, steady your heart, and understand this. You are not watching this video. You are stepping into an assignment, and assignments are not given to people who are unqualified. They are given to people who have been observed, tested, measured in private before they are trusted in public. Let me explain something that most people your age were never taught when they were younger. There is a difference between being overlooked and being hidden. When you were in your 20s and 30s, you may have chased visibility. You may have believed that being seen meant being validated. You worked hard. You proved yourself. You tried to earn respect in rooms that never intended to honor you, but somewhere along the way, especially in the last decade, something shifted inside you. You stopped needing applause. You stopped fighting to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you. You became quieter, not weaker. Quieter. And that quiet was not decline. It was depth forming. While others were chasing platforms, you were building foundation. While others were broadcasting opinions, you were wrestling with truth. While others were trying to be impressive, you were trying to be stable. And stability is not glamorous. It is not flashy. It does not trend, but it is rare, especially in a world addicted to noise. There is a reason your circle got smaller. There is a reason certain friendships faded without dramatic endings. There is a reason some family members began to look at you differently when you started saying no without explaining yourself for 30 minutes. You were not becoming difficult. You were becoming defined, and when a person becomes defined, undefined relationships naturally dissolve. That dissolution felt like rejection at first. It felt like abandonment. It felt like loss. But what was really happening was alignment. You cannot step into a new season carrying expired expectations from the last one. Some of the people who walked away were not evil. They were seasonal. They were assigned to your preparation, not your promotion. And once their role was complete, proximity had to change. Here is where it becomes personal. You have been questioning whether your isolation means you failed. You look around and see other people your age surrounded by activity, by noise, by constant social interaction, and you wonder why your world became quieter. Let me tell you something that might unsettle you before it frees you. Isolation is not always a sign of loss. Sometimes it is a sign of selection. When heaven intends to build something that must last beyond trends, beyond personalities, beyond emotional swings, it removes interference, it simplifies, it narrows the field. It pulls you away from the echo chamber so you can hear clearly, and clarity has been forming in you. You see through manipulation faster now. You recognize patterns sooner. You do not need 3 confirmations before trusting your discernment. That is not coincidence. That is maturation. But maturation requires separation. Think about every major turning point in your life. There was always a season of reduction before expansion, a season where options narrowed, a season where certain doors closed without explanation, a season where you felt alone in decisions that others could not understand. And yet, when you look back now, those were the seasons that strengthened you the most. You did not collapse. You consolidated. You became internally anchored. That anchor is what qualifies you for what is next, because what is next will not be sustained by excitement. It will be sustained by endurance. And endurance is forged in silence. Right now, you are standing at the edge of what I call the reveal season. Not a dramatic overnight explosion, not a lottery ticket breakthrough, but a steady unveiling, a shift where opportunities begin to recognize you without you chasing them, where conversations begin to open doors you did not force, where respect comes quietly instead of being demanded. And here is the tension. You are ready, but you are cautious. You feel movement in the atmosphere around your life, but you are hesitant to hope too quickly because you have been disappointed before. That hesitation is understandable, but do not let caution become disbelief. You have not endured all of this refinement just to remain hidden forever. There is a timing element at work here that is bigger than your calendar. For years you thought delays meant denial. You thought setbacks meant disqualification. But what if delays were insulation? What if setbacks were insulation? Protection from entering spaces that would have consumed the earlier version of you. Because the version of you 10 years ago would not have handled what you are about to handle. You were too reactive, too eager to please, too dependent on external validation, too quick to give access. Now you move differently. You observe before you speak. You pray before you commit. You evaluate before you attach. That shift alone proves growth, and growth always precedes expansion. If what I am saying is resonating with where you are in life right now, take a second and press the like button. Not because I need validation, but because engagement signals alignment. It tells the algorithm that messages rooted in maturity still matter. And if you have not subscribed yet, consider doing that now, because what is unfolding here is not surface-level motivation. It is preparation for people who are entering their most influential decade, not their decline. Let me go deeper. There has been a quiet recalibration happening in your identity. For years you defined yourself by roles: parent, spouse, provider, caretaker, problem solver. But recently you have been confronted with a deeper question. Who are you when the roles shift? Who are you when the children grow up? When the career plateaus? When the relationships evolve? When the applause fades? That question can feel threatening, because if identity was built on responsibility alone, transition feels like erasure. But what has been happening in this hidden season is not erasure. It is excavation. Layers are being removed so the core can emerge, and the core is stronger than the roles ever were. You are not just what you do. You are who you have become through what you survived. That distinction matters, because the next season of your life is not built on proving yourself. It is built on stewarding who you already are. There is also something else you need to understand. The resistance you felt when you started changing was not random. When you stop participating in dysfunction, dysfunction reacts. When you withdraw from drama, drama searches for you. When you set boundaries, people accustomed to unlimited access feel threatened. That resistance was not evidence that you were wrong. It was evidence that you were breaking patterns. Patterns that may have existed in your family for generations. Patterns that normalized overextension. Patterns that equated loyalty with self-neglect. You disrupted those patterns, and disruption always creates temporary tension. But tension is not the same as error. Sometimes tension is proof that something unhealthy is losing its grip, and you stayed steady, even when misunderstood, even when mislabeled, even when accused of being distant. You held your ground. That ground is now becoming solid under your feet, which brings us to what is unfolding next. There is a conversation coming. There is an opportunity approaching. There is a reconnection being considered on the other side of silence. And this time, you will not enter it as the version of yourself that tolerated confusion. You will enter it grounded, aware, discerning. The difference between then and now is not circumstance. It is you. And that difference is everything. Now we enter the escalation, because growth without testing is theory. And what is forming in you is not theoretical, it is operational. There is someone from your past who has been watching from a distance, not in a dramatic way, not in a reckless way, but in a reflective way. They have noticed the shift, they have sensed the distance. They have realized that the version of you they once had access to no longer exists in the same form, and that realization has unsettled them. It is important that you understand this clearly. When you elevate internally, the people who benefited from your former limitations feel the absence first. They may not admit it, but they feel it. The easy access is gone. The emotional over-availability is gone. The immediate reassurance is gone. And what remains is a person who chooses presence instead of pressure. That shift changes dynamics. And now, a return is being considered, a message drafted and deleted, a phone call almost made, a conversation rehearsed in the quiet of their own mind. But this return is not about nostalgia, it is about recognition. They recognize that you are no longer operating from insecurity. They recognize that you are no longer chasing closure. They recognize that you are stable in a way that commands respect, and stability attracts reconsideration. Here is where discernment becomes critical. Not every return is restoration, not every apology is transformation, and not every reconnection is alignment. You must resist the urge to respond emotionally before you respond. Spiritually, you must pause, observe, pray, and then decide, because this moment is not about proving that you have changed. It is about protecting the change that has already taken place. If you rush to accommodate their discomfort, you will compromise your development. If you rush to forgive without boundaries, you will re-enter cycles you were delivered from. And if you ignore the internal caution rising in your spirit, you will override the very discernment that was cultivated during your isolation. Discernment is not suspicion. It is clarity without anxiety. It is the ability to sense what is beneath words. It is the capacity to evaluate patterns instead of promises, and you have earned that discernment. You did not gain it from books. You gained it from experience, from betrayal, from disappointment, from learning the difference between potential and consistency. This time, you will not ignore red flags because you are afraid of losing someone. This time, you will not override your peace to maintain proximity. This time, you will measure actions over time instead of believing statements in the moment, and that shift signals authority, not authority over people, authority over yourself, over your time, over your access, over your emotional investment. Spiritual authority does not shout. It stands. It does not chase. It attracts. It does not over-explain. It establishes, and that is who you are becoming. There was a time when you would have welcomed this return immediately. Not because it was wise, but because it felt validating. Now validation is not your currency. Alignment is. If what I am describing feels uncomfortably accurate, take a moment and leave a comment below with the word steady. That is not superstition. It is agreement with the growth that has already taken place in you. And if you have been quietly watching this channel for a while without subscribing, now would be the time to do so. Not out of impulse, but because consistent exposure to truth reinforces stability. Now let me elevate this further. There is also an unseen dimension to this shift. When you stopped participating in chaos, chaos lost legal access. When you withdrew from manipulation, manipulation lost leverage. When you surrendered your need to control outcomes, control loosened its grip. That release altered the atmosphere around your life. And in that altered atmosphere, certain doors are no longer permitted to remain closed. You may not see it yet, but conversations are aligning. Decisions are being reconsidered. Opportunities that once bypassed you are circling back. Not because you forced them, but because you matured beyond needing them. There is power in detachment. When you stop clinging, you become magnetic. When you stop striving, you become stable. And stability carries weight. People in their 30s chase momentum. People in their 40s and 50s build legacy. And legacy requires patience, character, and restraint. You are not in a comeback season. You are in a consolidation season, turning into a commissioning season. Commissioning means responsibility. It means influence handled with wisdom. It means opportunities evaluated with long-term vision instead of short-term emotion. That is why this returning conversation is a test, not a punishment. A test of whether you will operate from old wounds or healed awareness. Old wounds react. Healed awareness responds. Old wounds demand immediate answers. Healed awareness waits. Old wounds crave validation. Healed awareness protects peace. You are no longer the person who reacts. You are the person who evaluates, and evaluation takes strength. Let me say something directly to you. You are not too late. You are not washed up. You are not fading. You are refining. The world tries to convince people between 35 and 65 that their prime has passed. But in reality, clarity peaks where insecurity once ruled. You are less impressed by noise now, less intimidated by opinion, less desperate for approval. That emotional sobriety is power, and power handled with humility is dangerous in the best possible way, which is why the spiritual layer intensifies here, because when a person matures emotionally and spiritually at the same time, acceleration follows. You have felt acceleration stirring, small confirmations, subtle openings, moments of unusual peace. That is not imagination, it is alignment. But alignment demands integrity. You cannot step into greater influence while secretly entertaining lesser patterns. You cannot pray for expansion while clinging to expired connections. You cannot ask for elevation while fearing responsibility. This next season will require you to say no more often than yes, to walk away more often than you engage, to protect your mornings, to guard your energy, to measure your commitments. And that discipline will look boring to people addicted to chaos. Let them misunderstand. You are not here to entertain, you are here to establish. The return will come. The opportunity will present itself. The test will unfold. And when it does, remember this: you do not owe immediate access. You do not owe emotional labor. You do not owe a return to who you were. You owe faithfulness to who you have become. And that faithfulness is sacred. Do not betray your refinement to avoid someone else's discomfort. Do not compromise your discernment to prove you are still kind. Kindness without boundaries is self-abandonment. Wisdom with compassion is maturity. You are operating from maturity now. And maturity is quiet power. The person who returns may be sincere. They may have grown. They may have realized what they lost, but sincerity is not enough. Consistency over time is the evidence. So watch patterns, watch follow through, watch humility, and most of all, watch your internal peace. If peace leaves, pause. If clarity dims, wait. If pressure increases, step back. You are not being dramatic. You are being discerning. And discernment is the shield that protects the promotion that is forming around you. Because make no mistake, promotion is forming, not loud, not chaotic, but steady. The same way you grew, quietly, deliberately, with endurance, and when it manifests, it will not look like hype. It will look like stability rewarded. You are closer than you think. But closeness requires composure, and composure is what you have been developing all along. Now listen closely, because this is where acceleration begins to move from subtle to undeniable. You are about to notice an increase in confirmation, not dramatic fireworks, not voices from the sky, but alignment stacking in ways that feel almost too precise to ignore. A conversation that answers a question you prayed about months ago, an opportunity resurfacing after you stopped chasing it, a financial door opening at the exact moment you decided to release anxiety about provision, a reconnection that arrives only after you no longer needed it. This is how commissioning works. First, refinement, then restraint, then release. You have completed refinement. You are mastering restraint, and release is approaching. But before release comes responsibility. Because the next season of your life will not simply be about personal comfort. It will be about influence. Not influencer culture. Influence in the rooms you occupy. Influence in your family. Influence in your community. Influence in decisions that carry weight. There is a reason you were slowed down. There is a reason certain ambitions were interrupted. There is a reason some doors closed when you felt ready. You are being protected from premature exposure. Exposure without depth destroys people. Exposure with depth establishes them. You were given depth, and depth changes how you handle visibility. Years ago, you might have entered opportunity with ego. Now you enter with stewardship. Years ago, you might have spoken quickly. Now you listen first. Years ago, you might have said yes to prove you were capable. Now you say yes only when you are aligned. That internal shift is what qualifies you for expansion that will not collapse under pressure. There is also something else forming, a restoration of authority. Authority you surrendered in past seasons because you doubted yourself. Authority you gave away to keep peace. Authority you minimized because you did not want to intimidate people. But now you understand something. Confidence is not arrogance. Clarity is not aggression. Boundaries are not cruelty. And wisdom does not require apology. That understanding reclaims ground. And reclaimed ground shifts atmosphere. The people around you are already noticing it. They may not have language for it, but they feel the difference. You are calmer, more measured, less reactive, more anchored, and anchored people become reference points for others. That is influence. You are stepping into a season where younger generations will look to you, not just for advice, but for stability. Peers will begin to seek your counsel, and even those who once underestimated you will begin to consult you, not because you demanded recognition, but because your life now carries weight. Weight built in silence, weight forged in disappointment, weight strengthened through endurance. If you are still with me and you feel the seriousness of this moment, press like, right now, not out of habit, but out of agreement. Agreement that you will not minimize the growth that has taken place in you. And if you have not subscribed, this is the kind of message you do not want to encounter once and forget. Stay connected to it, because repetition of truth strengthens identity. Now, let me speak to the hesitation lingering in you. You are excited about what is coming, but you are also afraid of being disappointed again. You have hoped before, you have trusted before. You have believed before, and sometimes the outcome did not match the expectation. So now you guard your optimism, you temper your excitement, you tell yourself to stay realistic. There is wisdom in that, but do not let realism evolve into resistance, because resistance to blessing is still resistance. You have matured enough to handle progress without losing humility. You have endured enough to appreciate stability without idolizing it. You have been pruned enough to value growth without rushing it, which means you are ready, not emotionally impulsive ready, not ego-driven ready. Steady ready. That steadiness is what makes this moment sacred, because what is forming is not random opportunity. It is strategic alignment. People will enter your life who reflect where you are going, not where you have been. Conversations will begin that open doors connected to long-term impact, not temporary excitement. You will sense when something carries longevity instead of intensity. That discernment will guide you, but you must honor it. Do not override it for nostalgia. Do not silence it for convenience. Do not suppress it for fear of being alone. You were not refined to reattach to what once drained you. You were refined to recognize what sustains you. There will also be a financial layer to this next season, not necessarily sudden wealth, but increased stability, smarter decisions. Opportunities to steward resources with wisdom instead of urgency, because panic spending, panic investing, and panic decision-making were tied to insecurity. And insecurity has been addressed in you. Security creates margin. Margin creates clarity. Clarity creates wise action. And wise action compounds over time. This is not about overnight transformation. It is about sustainable elevation. Elevation that does not disappear with the next crisis. Elevation that remains because it was built on character. You may also notice something interesting. The people who once criticized your quiet season will begin to reinterpret it. They will say things like, "I always knew you were building something," or "You have really grown." Receive that graciously. But remember who you were when nobody affirmed you. Remember who you were when the phone was silent. Remember who you were when you doubted and stayed faithful anyway. That version of you is the foundation. Do not abandon that humility when visibility increases. Humility is what sustains authority, and authority sustained over time becomes legacy. Legacy is what this season is about. Not proving, not competing, not comparing, building something that lasts beyond applause. Let me say this clearly. If you walk away from this moment pretending this is just inspiration, you will miss the assignment embedded in it, because this is not just encouragement, it is activation. You are being called to step fully into the version of yourself that has been forming quietly for years. Half measures will not work. Hesitation will delay what is ready, and minimizing yourself will dishonor the refinement you endured. You cannot go back to shrinking. You cannot return to over-explaining. You cannot re-enter dynamics that require you to dim your clarity. That would not just be regression, it would be betrayal of your own growth. And deep down you know that, you feel it. The shift has already begun. The season has already turned. The atmosphere around your life is no longer heavy the way it was. It feels expectant, and expectation handled with maturity becomes manifestation. Take a deep breath. Feel the gravity of this moment. You are not late. You are not behind. You are positioned. Positioned for influence. Positioned for clarity. Positioned for conversations that matter. Positioned for stability that cannot be shaken easily. And most importantly, positioned to walk forward without apologizing for who you have become. Before we move into the final layer of this message, I want you to do something simple. Comment the word "ready" below. Not for me, for yourself. Agreement matters, spoken alignment matters, and sometimes the simple act of declaring readiness strengthens resolve in ways silence never could. Because what comes next will require you fully engaged, not casual, not passive engaged, and you are more prepared than you realize. Now we seal this because information without activation fades, but truth agreed with becomes transformation. You have listened this far for a reason, not curiosity, not boredom recognition. Something in you recognized your own story in these words. The hidden years, the quiet endurance, the misunderstood boundaries, the refinement that felt like reduction. You were not shrinking, you were being shaped, and shaping always happens under pressure. But pressure produces clarity when a person refuses to collapse. You did not collapse, you recalibrated, and that recalibration positioned you for this moment. The moment where you stop seeing your past as wasted time. The moment where you stop apologizing for your growth. The moment where you accept that you were not delayed, you were developed. Let this settle in your spirit. The isolation was intentional, the silence was instructional, the pruning was protective, and the waiting was strategic. Nothing you endured was accidental, not the betrayal, not the disappointment, not the long nights questioning your value. Every piece of it was forming a steadiness in you that cannot be manufactured quickly. Now, I want you to receive this next part personally. You are entering a season where peace will become your baseline instead of your breakthrough, where clarity will replace confusion, where decisions will feel grounded instead of pressured, where relationships will align without force, and where your presence will carry weight without performance. But with that comes responsibility. You cannot step into stable peace while secretly entertaining unstable patterns. You cannot ask for aligned relationships while clinging to misaligned attachments. You cannot pray for expansion while fearing visibility. You are not being invited to survive this next season. You are being invited to steward it. Steward your time, steward your words, steward your access, steward your energy, because what is forming is not just a better year, it is a stronger version of you, and that version of you will influence more people than you realize. Your children are watching, your peers are watching, even the ones who criticize are watching. They are observing how you handle pressure, how you respond to misunderstanding, how you walk through transition, and your composure is teaching them something about maturity. This is legacy in motion, not loud, not theatrical, but powerful. Before we close, I want to pray with you, not casually, intentionally. Wherever you are right now, I want you to pause. If you can, close your eyes for a moment and receive these words. Father, I thank you for the person listening right now. You see their entire journey. You saw the seasons they almost gave up. You saw the moments they questioned their own worth. You saw the tears they hid from everyone else, and you never left. You were forming strength where they felt weakness. You were building clarity where they felt confusion. You were cultivating endurance where they felt exhaustion. Today, I ask that you seal the work you have done in them. Let doubt lose its voice. Let insecurity release its grip. Let comparison fall away, and let confidence rise rooted in humility and truth. Give them discernment in every returning conversation. Give them peace in every decision. Give them courage to say no without guilt, and yes without fear. Protect what you have built in them. Guard their mind from regression. Guard their heart from unnecessary attachment. Guard their future from distractions disguised as opportunity. Let this next season unfold with steady clarity. Open the right doors, close the wrong ones firmly, align the right relationships, remove what no longer serves their growth, restore authority where it was surrendered, restore joy where it was postponed, restore vision where it grew blurry, and let them walk forward knowing they are not late, they are appointed. Let peace become their atmosphere. Let wisdom guide their steps. Let integrity sustain their influence, and let their life reflect the quiet power of a person who endured and did not break. In Jesus' name, Amen. Take a breath. Feel the weight lifting. Feel the clarity settling. You are not who you were 5 years ago, and you are not meant to be. The version of you that doubted constantly is gone. The version of you that tolerated chaos is gone. The version of you that overextended to feel valued is gone. You have evolved. Do not regress to make others comfortable. Do not shrink to preserve outdated dynamics. And do not walk away from this moment pretending it did not resonate, because if you leave unchanged, you will feel it. You will sense that you ignored something sacred, not because of guilt, but because growth once recognized cannot be unseen. If this message strengthened you, share it with someone who is in their own hidden season. Not everyone will understand it, but the one who needs it will feel it immediately. And if you have not subscribed yet, do it now. Stay connected to this frequency, because reinforcement builds stability, and stability sustains legacy. Finally, leave a comment below and tell me what shifted in you tonight. Your words matter, your agreement matters, your growth matters. You were not forgotten. You were formed. You were not delayed. You were developed. You are not overlooked. You are positioned. Walk forward steady. Walk forward discerning. Walk forward unafraid. Your best years are not behind you. They are beginning with clarity together. We rise toward the light.